Welcome to another episode of The Heart of the Volunteer. I'm your host, Paul Cummings. This next one's been sitting with me for a minute. I don't say that lightly either, because I've already had a lot of conversations for this podcast. I've talked to volunteers from different states, different sized departments, different backgrounds, different generations. And every conversation has had something in it that mattered. But this one hit me in a few different ways. Because when you talk about the volunteer fire service being in trouble, it's easy for people to hear that as a general statement. It's easy to hear low numbers or recruitment problem and just kind of let those words pass by. But then you sit across from someone like Brian Gay from Reeder, West Virginia, and suddenly those words have a face. Now, Reeder is a town of about 350 people, and their fire department has 3 members. That's not a typo. It's not an exaggeration either. I wish it was. 3, I said. 3. 3 people with full-time jobs. 3 people with full lives. 3 people trying to protect an entire community. And Brian told me there's calls where he leaves the station by himself. And that's not a short crew. That's not waiting for the rest of the crew to catch up and meet us at the scene. This is 100% by himself in 2026. And I want you to really sit with that before this interview starts. Because a lot of us in the fire service, we complain when we only get 6 or 8 people out the door. And I'm not saying that's not a problem, because it is. But what Brian is describing is something much more serious than that. He's talking about answering the call alone, not knowing really what it is when the call comes in. He's talking about getting on the truck knowing there's a good possibility he's the only one going. He's talking about requesting mutual aid from departments that are pretty much struggling with the same exact problem. At one point, he talks about a structure fire where 6 different towns had to be paged out, 6 departments just to scrape together enough help. And even then, the question isn't just who gets paged. The question is, who can actually go? Who can actually respond? And that's the part the public doesn't always see. They see the firehouse. They see the trucks. They see the building sitting there and just assume when something goes wrong, the system is ready. But the building doesn't answer the call. The truck doesn't answer the call. The people do. And in some places, there just aren't enough people left. Now, Brian talks about the possibility that his own department could be closed within 2 years if they can't get enough people. And if that happens, they're looking at the possibility of a 35 to 45-minute response window for fires, brush fires, accidents, EMS emergencies, anything else that comes up. That's not just a small inconvenience. It's not just a political talking point. We're talking about someone's house, someone's family, someone's child. Someone's worst day getting worse by the minute as we tick down and wait 30, 35, 40, 45 minutes. And what makes this conversation even more powerful is that Brian's not sitting here feeling sorry for himself. He's not looking for sympathy. He's doing everything he can, and he's still there. He's still answering. He's still trying to hold together something that most people in his community may not even fully understand as just hanging by a thread. I'll be honest with you, as a firefighter, this conversation made me a little uncomfortable at a few moments because I kept thinking about my own department, my own community, my own moments where the pager goes off and I look at the phone just hoping names are going to start showing up. The truth is, most of us are closer to this than we want to admit. Maybe we're not 3 members close, but we're much closer than we should be. So as you listen to Brian, don't just hear this as a West Virginia story or a West Virginia problem. Don't hear it as one small town fire department struggling. Hear it as a warning. Hear it as a picture of what happens when the volunteer system gets stretched too thin for too long. More than anything, hear the heart of a man who still gets up and goes, even when he's too tired, doesn't feel like it, even when he knows he might be going alone. And that's mostly why he does it. So as you sit back, please enjoy my conversation today with Brian Gay from Reeder, West Virginia. Welcome to the Heart of the Volunteer. Once again, I'm your host, Paul Cummings, today joined by firefighter out of Reeder, West Virginia. Brian Gay, how are you today, my sir?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
Not bad. How's the weather treating you guys down there in West Virginia these days?
Just depends. She changes up her mind every day.
I'm from upstate New York, so I totally respect that. So, Brian, let's get right into it. Obviously, we got a limited amount of time. We spoke just a few minutes before we went on the air, and you definitely, it's funny. I come up with questions to ask everybody when I get on this podcast, and I end up usually about 5 minutes in throwing the questionnaire away. So I have a feeling that you and I are probably going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with my normal program, kind of let you take the ship, because it sounds like you guys have a lot of stuff going on down there. So I guess to get things started, Brian, who is Brian Gay outside the fire department? Where are you from? What do you do when the tones aren't going off or you're not at training?
Originally from Southern Georgia, moved up here to West Virginia end of 2009. Started out oil and gas, and then I transitioned into safety. My full-time job is I am the Ohio Division Safety Manager for a water transfer company.
Okay. So that's your current, so you do that, that's full-time for you during the day?
Yes, sir. And then I'm also take my EMT basic national registry test, the written part, next month.
Good for you. That's, I always say that's the hardest class within the entire fire service in my 25 years I've ever taken. And, when people hear the word volunteer, they picture the lights, they picture the calls, they picture the sirens. Oftentimes I think what gets missed is the normal life behind the actual volunteer. So tell me a little bit about your fire department, and tell me a little bit about the people that make it up.
Right now, I'll be honest, we don't have much of a department. We're hurting bad. We can't get nobody to join.
How many members are we talking, Brian, currently?
Currently, we have 3 members for a town of 350.
Okay. All right. So you're in more than crisis mode. And of those 3 people, all of you full-time employees?
Yes. And it's right now, it's so bad that here lately, and it's nothing on the part of my chief or my assistant chief. There's only my chief, my assistant chief, and me. They work full-time. They have supervisory positions. Luckily, with my position, I sometimes have the option to work from home because I'm salary.
Yep.
But there's been a few times here lately that when the tones have dropped, I've left the station by myself.
Which can be scary and challenging in its own regard, right? You don't know what you're going into.
No, and you're requesting mutual aid from other departments. To put it in perspective, our whole county is facing that issue. Just the other day, we had a structure fire. They had to page out 6 different towns.
So right. So that mutual aid, then are they in the same boat as you guys?
Yes.
So everybody around you hurting. There's not like one fire department that seems to be flourishing. Tell me a little bit about, so you said you got in when?
I have been in the fire department. I got certified back in 2013. I've been in and out of it since 2013 because I did consulting for safety for a while, so I had to travel. Sure. But whenever I'm home, I stay now I don't have to travel, so I'm good.
Yep.
But when I traveled, I stayed as what they called an inactive member, but I would just transfer right back into activity once you were around.
Sure. So since 2013 I'm focused on your fire department. Was there a good time, or has it been struggling since then?
I've only been with this department for 2 years.
Okay.
Originally was with another department, and it had its ups and downs. It was a roller coaster. You would get 10 members out, and then the next thing you know, you're only getting 2 people out.
Right. Which I think is the case for a lot of fire departments, right? I know for my own, we've had that roller coaster throughout the years. The good times, the bad times, usually stems, around leadership. But you say you have 350 people in the town. So we're talking about a pretty relatively small district. Are the other districts stacked right on top of you? Are you a village? Explain to me what the town of Reeder, West Virginia looks like a little bit.
So we're a very small town. We do have a post office, all that. Then you have the next town over, which is Pine Grove.
Okay.
and I can't remember what their exact population is, but they're all small towns along the same road.
Okay.
And we're in a very rural area. There is no industry.
Metropolis.
Everybody has to travel outside of the county to go to work.
Sure. Where's the closest city to you guys?
New Martinsville. If you're going to talk the biggest town, like the bigger towns, you're going to look at, we're about an hour and 15, hour and a half from Clarksburg, West Virginia. We're about maybe an hour and a half-ish, hour and 45, depending on traffic and everything, from Wheeling.
Okay.
Or you got another hour and 15 to go to Parkersburg.
Okay. All right. I'm familiar with the Wheeling area. I'm familiar with a couple different areas. I actually had a guy on from West Virginia the other night, and explaining to him the drive through West Virginia when they're coming up from the south. You know, we used to take 81, which would cut through Pennsylvania on the East Coast. But if you had the time, you would, 70? I can't remember the route that comes up through West Virginia.
It'd be 70,
77, 79. Yeah. One of the most beautiful drives I've ever taken in my life. And rural doesn't even begin to describe it. Like, I'm from a rural area in New York. And then you go down to some of the rural areas in West Virginia and, Carolinas. You get down there and maybe we're not as rural as I once thought. But so what was it in 2013 that ultimately made you decide, like, I want to join this fire department? Was there a moment, or was it accumulation of events that kind of stacked up on top of each other? How did that all work out to push you through the door?
I've been off and on. I just went certified. I did helping before 2013.
Okay.
And then about roughly around that time, I also lost my daughter at 9 days old. I was the first one to start CPR and could not resuscitate.
My God. Sorry.
We waited 25 minutes for an ambulance because of how rural of an area it is. And then later that year, my now ex-wife, we're divorced now, she got pregnant with twins, and we lost the boy in pregnancy on Christmas Eve morning. That's when I started transitioning into safety also, along with wanting to serve my community, because that's a pain that I don't want another family to have to experience.
Amen, brother. Like, I have 3 kids, and every time I hear a story like this, it doesn't take, let me put it this way. I'm not lost for words that often. And to see somebody like you go through that, and yet still be able to come forward for your community for the sake of, I don't want anybody else to deal with that, says something about you, Brian, that the rest of the interview doesn't matter. That says everything that we need to know about the heart of the volunteer. My heart is with you, my friend. And you say 25 minutes to get an ambulance, and that strikes me to my core. And like you said, in 25 minutes, my heart goes out to you, and I appreciate you for being able to step past that and put the community ahead of yourself and everybody, Brian. That is tremendous. And my next question was going to be, what was going through your head at that time? And I can only imagine. I can be honest, because I was right. That was right about the time I was starting to get trained and everything. I just started going through the motions. Okay, this is what I got to do. Give me help. Yep. Almost done everything else in a way.
The worst part about it is how they treat parents when a child dies at home. You're automatically a suspect.
Right. And that's added pressure that.
And I'm sitting here getting questioned by law enforcement, and they're like, okay, you're a trained firefighter. You just got certified. You should know how to answer these questions. And they're going, okay, who called 911? Who did this? Who did this? And I said, the minute that I started CPR on my child, I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings.
Yeah, nor should you be expected to.
I said, so you need to understand, my focus was on, this is what I got to do, and this is all I'm focusing on. And after about 45 minutes of being interrogated, I was finally cleared.
And going through something that, you didn't need to go through. But my heart goes out to you, Brian. And I, for one, I know a lot of this work that we do is thankless. I know you getting on that truck every day has got to carry a weight that a lot of us don't have. And I appreciate and respect every ounce of myself respects you for being able to do that. So thank you for everything that you do. So going back to that time, getting in the fire department, getting full-fledged, getting certified, what were some of the realities that set in, that maybe you had this fictitious mind in your head about how things could go and things could run? What were some of those reality checks that hit you that you said, oh man, I don't know if I can do this?
I would say it would have to be the bad side that a lot of people don't see. They see us, yeah, these guys look cool in their uniforms and look at the shiny red lights.
Right.
They don't get to see the trauma that we see.
Right.
And one of the hardest parts is, like, in our area, there is no counseling. Mental health was not even thought of. It was, oh, you had a bad call, just go back to the station, talk to the guys, or talk to a chaplain.
Yeah, or suck it up and move on.
Yeah. And having that realization, and it made me realize after a few of the bad calls, I was starting to become numb. And I had to take a step back and go, wait a second. I'm not having any feelings. I'm going through motions. This ain't good. This is going to lead down a very bad path.
Amen. Yep.
And that's one of the things that I try and tell the newer guys coming in is, we're not always going to have our good days. We're going to have some bad days.
Yep.
But you need, I remember, you're the same age as me. We were probably raised, men don't talk about their feelings. We don't open up. We're supposed to be the rock. We're supposed to carry everybody. But I try to tell these new guys, look, you're going to see some stuff. You need to talk to somebody. You need to be able to open up.
Yep.
Because if not, it's going to tear you up from the inside, and it's going to carry over into your personal life.
Yep.
You're going to take it out on your family. And if you're not able to cope with that appropriately, you may need to step back.
Yep. I'm so glad that they're putting some emphasis on this. So yes, I came from a fire service. I got in 01. Interior certified by 02, 03, somewhere in that, and then started my full-fledged membership. And back then it was that you went to a rec. In some cases, we would do counseling. We would have a pastor come in and talk to the group. At the time, I always got offended by that. I'm like, wait a minute. So I just got done seeing this rec. I remember one vividly. It was a girl I graduated high school with, and she was dead in the car, head-on collision, and they forced us into a debriefing. And I thought at the time, I don't want to be forced into it either. There's a time and a place when I'll be ready to talk. And they didn't know how to handle it back then. It was either don't talk about it, shut up, talk to the guys, like you said, or come to this meeting. It's mandatory. Well, everybody copes with it differently. And it wasn't until I went to FDIC maybe about 10 years ago, took a lot of classes regarding mental health, and realized that, wow, we do have a problem. And when you said it, right, when you said this, I was starting to become numb. Kudos to you for recognizing that something's wrong here. I should be feeling something, right?
And the thing is you have to be able to still feel it, but when you're on scene, not be emotional.
Yes.
Be able to, once that scene's over and you park that rig and you get out and you take your gear off, take a few minutes. Maybe you need to stay at the fire department, sit down in the recliner, catch your thoughts before you go home.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. It's funny. I don't know how many calls you don't recognize it in the moment, right? You never do. But there's definitely times that I've treated my wife and my kids maybe a little bit colder, maybe a little bit more distant, without even recognizing what I was doing. It was just a coping mechanism at the time. And I don't know how much of my background that you know, but I'm obviously a songwriter. And so I went to a fatal structure fire many years ago. We lost a family of 4. And that was the first time I can say that mentally I was a wreck. So what I did, I wrote a song about it, and it was called the Firefighter song. And I don't know if you heard that. The thing is, I wrote 4 or 5 versions of that song prior to the one that you know, and it's the most raw. It's the most, nobody will ever hear it. It's stuff that I needed to say to myself and to, whatever. I had to get it out into the atmosphere to cope. And ever since that day, that's how I cope. I have some of the rawest songs that nobody will ever hear, but that's my way to check out for a minute. So thank you for bringing that up. So let's get into, because that ties directly into what you and I were kind of talking about prior to getting on here. So you're doing these calls in this town with 3 people. So you get called to an MVA with entrapment. What's the mute? So you guys pull up, say it's at a good time of the day. All 3 of you are there. Okay. That's still not enough people to effectively or efficiently pull off an extrication. So what's the mutual aid? How long typically before help comes?
It just all depends. I mean, I've been on MVAs where thankfully we didn't have an entrapment, but I wasn't even able to get mutual aid.
Wow. So you've got what you've got, and that's it. Maybe the sheriff's department or the police show up.
And you're saying, look, here, you're about to start helping.
We hear about this all the time. We hear about this problem all the time, Brian, and you're bringing it right to reality. Like, so we say sometimes we've got problems, and we've got 8, 10 people showing up on calls. And oh my gosh, that's not enough. You've got 3 maybe. So has there been
6 calls, I left station by myself.
That's incredible to me to hear that firsthand. Like you hear these stories. To talk to you firsthand about it is incredible. So what has the effort been like? You had mentioned to me, right, what's the future look like for the fire department? I think a wheel's already in motion for this, correct?
They're hoping, our county commission just passed something. They're hoping that it helps with recruitment, where July 1st, they're going to do away with volunteers in the county. It's going to go to paid by call.
Okay.
Not
so
sure
you guys are still sticking around though. The fire department stays, the equipment stays, and you guys stay. We're just changing the structure of how it works, right?
Yeah, we will actually be paid by the county commission instead of our department per call. I have noticed some issues with, and a few people are, they've noticed issues with it. I don't know exactly how the structure is going to work with it, but the way I'm hearing it, and I can't say this is, set in concrete because I'm not sure exactly, I've just heard it from other chiefs, is that we'll be paid for the first 2 hours a certain rate. And then after that, we get paid a certain rate up to a certain cap.
Okay.
But we have to make like 20% of our calls for the month. And if we go on a mutual aid, we do not get paid.
What's a typical month, Brian? How many calls a year typically?
It just varies. We might get like 10 or we might get 20. We could go.
Is it steady? I mean, are we talking 100 calls a year? Typically less than that, more than that?
It's more than 100, but it just varies on the week. We might go a week or 2 with nothing, and then we might get slammed for a whole week.
Okay, so still 100 calls to me for 3 people is a lot of calls, especially because you can't control what time of the day that those come in. All right.
And the problem is they will not, like our mutual aid calls, if we go on a mutual aid, there will be no pay for it.
Oh, so that's the pay per call goes away when you go mutual aid.
And what it does is it helps with your call volume.
Okay.
So if, say, you're required to make 2 calls in a month and you only make 1, but you do go on another mutual aid, they will count that towards your call volume to give you your 2 calls.
Okay.
But you only get paid for 1 of the calls.
Okay. All right. So that's a little tricky. That's going to be tough to navigate. So how is this going to work with new people? So you still going to call it a volunteer fire department? Does that title go away?
It's still volunteer.
Yep. So how are we treating new members then? You're still, so the goal is still, we're not shutting the fire station down. So you're still in critical mode. We could use some people. So we're talking about 350 people in your town. I'm assuming that means that you probably know a lot of them.
I don't know them personally. I've only lived in this town for 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. But even in 2 years, you must have met a good percentage.
I've met a few.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really go out much. My ex-girlfriend lives here in the same town and she knows a lot of people. That's like we went out on a structure fire the other day. And as soon as I got home, she was calling me going, "Is my sister-in-law okay?" And I went, "Who's your sister-in-law?" She was like, "The one you went to the structure fire this morning."
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, that call was 12 miles from our department. That's how far we're going for our mutual aids.
Yeah. I mean, and so, man, in every fire department. So when you get to, I can't imagine there's a lot of interior firefighting going on then.
We don't have a chance.
You don't, right, because by the time a truck gets on the road, okay. So tell me, talk about, 'cause again, my mind always goes to 350 people. I always use the 10% rule. 10% of 350 people have this in their heart. They have to. By laws and numbers, there has to, right? So we're talking about 30 people, just for the sake of argument, right? I've got to imagine in Reader right now, and if you're listening from Reader and you're one of these people, pay attention. There's got to be 30 people in this town that have this pull in their heart that would do more. What do you think holds them back from it? Why aren't they coming to your door right now saying, Brian, I understand that this is, for sake of a better term, we're on a podcast. This is bullshit. I want to help you. Okay. What do you think the roadblock is?
I think a lot of it is everybody having to leave the county to work.
So during the day commitment, they feel that because they're not around during the day, that they probably don't have enough time to commit.
And also we do have a state law that protects first responders. If you're at work, your employer, or if you're out on an emergency, your employer cannot retaliate or anything.
Sure. But they can control whether or not you leave during the day to go on a call.
Right. But like my landlord, I had a brush fire here a couple weeks ago. I show up on scene, no assistance, no mutual aid, nothing. I'm requesting. Luckily, the brush fire's right off the road. I'm out here dragging an 1.5 inch charged line by myself for 20
after
minutes.
setting the pump, right? Set the pump and run.
I drug the hose out, made sure my nozzle was closed, charged the line, jumped back off the truck.
Because you got water supply to contend with, you've got suppression to contend with, and then after all that, you've got to do overhaul on all this stuff.
Well,
you guys got to get beat.
And so my landlord and another resident showed up because it happened to be there was a structure that could have been endangered, and it was actually happened to be his mom and dad's. So he came up and he's like, "Hey, Brian, you need some help?" And I went, "Yeah." I know we're not supposed to have civilians help, but yeah, I need some help.
Yeah.
And so I got mutual aid 45 minutes after I was on scene.
By yourself with a couple civilians.
Yeah. And I talked to my landlord later about it. I said, "Hey, have you thought about joining the department?" And he said something that really resonated. He said, "I'd love to, but the job I work, they pay me good money to be there. And I know they can't legally fire me for not being there if I'm on a scene, but they can find a reason to fire me."
Right. But again, you're talking about 100 calls a year. What are the odds that call is going to come in that hour before shift, right? That's going to pull you out of there a couple times a year at most. I mean, we run probably about 450 calls a year, and I can count on my hands how many times I responded before work and got to work late in a year. Because of the call. So even in a bigger district, right? So I think, and that's what I was about to get at. I think we're fighting a lot of the same misconceptions in West Virginia about time that most people don't think that they have. And I was talking last night, this makes me feel like I have no time because I'm constantly connected to everything, and the day just goes so fast. When I got in 25 years ago and we didn't have these phones, I wanted to go to the firehouse. It's the only way I could keep up with people, right? I had to go find out how the week went. I had to go find out how the kids are doing. I had to find out. Now, there's people I haven't talked to in 3 years. I know all the names of their kids. I know what sports they're playing. I never had to say a word to these people. And I think that plays a lot in, and I think it all goes into time. People have this misconception that the fire department is going to consume every last minute that they have. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I would say that's fair to say. And I mean, it used to be that we had to do all our training, in person. So you had to take off work. But now they have blended programs. You do all your paperwork online. Then you go on the weekends and do your hands-on portions.
Yep. And it's still hurting. Like, still people aren't beating the doors down to do it. So I've always said,
we don't even have meetings anymore because of the amount of people we only have 3 people. We do our meetings right here on our phone.
Really? So you don't even
message.
Yeah.
If we have something to say, we just message each other.
Yeah. Well, with the limited amount of people that you guys have, I could definitely see that working. So what has the community outreach been like? Has there been any push in the communities to get recruitment going? Have we tried this? Has it just been a dead end?
There really hasn't, because there's, like you said, we're talking about time here. And now we're facing another issue where they're wanting me to get my officer classes done because my fire chief is saying he's ready to resign because he can't keep up with the fire department because of work. That's going to drop us to 2. And my biggest fear right now, and it's breaking my heart and I'm scared, is our department may be closed within 2 years if we cannot get people. And if that happens, I don't even know what's going to happen in my community, because I know what the response times are like when I'm asking for mutual aid. And if we don't have,
resources. Yeah, if you don't have resources, you don't have resources.
And you're looking at, a 35, 45 minute response time for a structure fire.
It's over.
Or a brush fire or anything.
Yeah. Well, on a brush fire in the middle of the summer, I mean, that could turn into a catastrophe real fast, right? I mean, we see it all the time out west. So where is the closest career department? How far is this all pretty pertain to the cities, or are there bigger communities nearby?
The closest actual career department would be in Clarksburg, an hour and a half away.
They're not even doing you any good, really, because by the time an hour and a half goes by.
Yeah, or you got Wheeling, or you got Parkersburg. That's it.
So what county? So let's say what county are you in?
I'm in Wetzel.
Wetzel. So do you? I'm not expecting you to know the answer to this. Do you know the total population of the county? If you had to guess.
No, I don't.
No.
But like even New Martinsville, which is the capital city of Wetzel County, their departments even volunteer.
Yep. Okay. This is amazing to me. The reality of the situation within 100 miles of you is this. It's not just a reader thing. So I'd like to come up with a way. So again, I want to find a way. I come to your firehouse. I'm a new guy. I say this to everybody, Brian. I'm not putting you on the spot or anything. I come up because, this is the situation you're going to be in, and I'll explain why I'm doing this. Firefighters, just like we're having a conversation now, we're great at talking to each other. 100%. We can talk. We could probably spend the rest of the afternoon talking war stories and shop and comparing how we do it here versus there, and really entertain ourselves with that. What we don't do great at is talking to the community. So with our last few minutes here, I come up to the door. I'm a new guy. I've got a little bit of experience with this back in New York. Brian, I don't really know anything about the fire service down here, though. I just want to join and help. You got 2 minutes to convince me to do it. What are you saying to me?
If you, to convince you, I can. I'll say, just think about this. Think about what makes you want to do it. What is your reasoning?
And then I'd say, what makes you want to do it, Brian? That pager goes off at 2 o'clock in the morning. What gets you out of bed?
Because at the end of the day, I look at this community. Someone's having their worst day. And if I can do something to be a positive change, or at least a comforting change.
Absolutely.
That's where I come from. And I would explain to them, okay, you moved into this area. Did you bring your family with you? Well, yes, I brought my wife, my kids. Let me ask you a question. Would you like to have the skills to be able to make sure that your wife and kids and your neighbors are taken care of? Because if, say, your best friend is involved in a wreck today, do you have the skills to be able to help your best friend make sure they stay alive, get them out of that vehicle, get them on the road to recovery?
Yep.
Do you have them skills? If not, we can provide them skills. We will pay everything. We will give you all the training. We will give you all the equipment.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, the first time you save somebody's life or you get that hug, we don't ask for fame. We don't ask for recognition. None of that. But what we do provide, money can never pay for.
Amen.
Because it is a privilege. It is an honor when you actually can go there and you, not saying I have a hero complex. I'm not trying to say I'm a Superman.
Yep.
But when just take you 2 seconds, let's go for a ride along. We'll text you and say, hey, we got a call.
Yeah.
So you can get to experience it. Yes, it's tiring. Yes, getting up at 2 a.m. is rough.
I'd love nothing more to encourage people to do that. Get in the fire department give me 6 months. I'm not going to shove training down your throat, at least on the state level yet. We'll get you good enough. We're going to get you on a couple calls. And I keep saying this, and we've kind of proven this template here. If I can get you in for 6 months and get you on a couple calls, I won't have to beg you to take class, because you'll understand it then. It's just, you got to come through the front door and you got to realize what's on the other side. And even with 3 people, it sounds like you guys are close knit. probably your best friends right now, I would assume.
Depends on when we talk. We
on the
don't talk
day.
much because we all three stay so busy.
Yep.
It's mostly we just text because.
But if you put a text out to those other two guys right now and said something's wrong, they're going to respond to you immediately.
Yeah.
And I always tell people that, man, you just walk through that door and you give it a little bit. Just give it a little bit of commitment, a little bit. I'm not asking for everything right now. Your life is more important, but if I just give me a little bit, the reward on the other side of that is, like you said, something that money can't buy. So, Brian, for anybody else that's listening in West Virginia and the whole surrounding area right now, what would you like to tell them about what this fire department means to you, what it'll mean to you if you have to close it? Because that's a whole nother mental side of this, is the pride and the tradition that goes along with it. And it's like losing, and I don't want to use this reference because you have lost a child, but it's similar to that feeling for a lot of people that have been doing this. I know if my fire department I've been in 25 years. I've really been in 42 years since my dad was in. If that place were to close down, my heart is broken. I'm devastated, like I lost a family member. So if there's anybody out there listening, tell me what you'd like to say to them.
Look, I know everybody's busy, but what a lot of people need to realize is we are hurting. We are in bad shape. We're in critical mode. And I had somebody the other day say, do you think it's safe for you to leave on the truck by yourself? No, it's not.
No.
I know it's not.
Yep.
But the reason I do it is because if I can provide that extra 20 minutes of protection or containment, I can. And if our department closes, I'm looking at it's going to be really bad for our community because we're going to lose houses, we're going to lose lives because we will not have that ability to provide the services.
Yeah.
And we need the people. I'm not asking for donations. I've had people ask me, can we donate to the department? And I'll tell them, we don't need money. We need time.
We need your time.
People.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, if this department closes, it's going to probably, for protection wise, kill this community.
Yeah. And I don't even think that's a stretch. I don't even think that's overkill to say that. To be that dramatic about it. This is how serious this problem has become in a lot of places around this country. And I'll tell you what, Brian, I'd like to check back with you. I wish we had another hour. Next time we talk, we probably will have more time. We're talking about extending the time of this, but I'd like to check back with you. You said in July, everything is going to kind of paid per call. I'd love to see what that does for the membership roles that, because I've been hearing a lot about incentives lately, and I'm an old school guy. I got in a time when we didn't need incentives to do this.
No.
It was just something we did. So I'm a little reluctant to get on the train of incentives, but we're doing it here in New York too. We're getting paid for firefighter one. I get it. I understand that people's time is valuable, but like I always said, I coach. I actually don't just coach. I coordinate the youth baseball team, the whole program here. I run our training program at the fire department. I'm a dad. I work full time, and yet I still have time to sleep at night. So there is time, and I'm living proof of that. If we can just convince people that this is a good use of it, I'd love to do that. So if you don't mind, I'd love to put something on the books, and we'll check back in July, and we'll see how this is working out for you guys, at least at the start of it, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, that sounds great, sir.
Awesome. Well, Brian, I thank you so much for your time today. Really enlightening. I hope somebody from the area listens to this and maybe it's what makes them realize that, okay, I know that they've been saying they're in crisis stage, but they're in crisis stage. And as a firefighter, my heart goes out to you. I'm going to be thinking of you guys battling some of these calls with a fraction of the crew that you should. And I'd like to see that change.
I know we got to get off. I'll just put this into perspective and tell you another issue we're facing is aging out. And I'm sure you've seen
Absolutely, yeah.
The other day,
I'm still one of the young guys, Brian.
I know. I'll make this one short, is we just had a structure fire recently where we had 6 towns come out. That's the only way we could get enough people.
Yeah.
And I don't think I seen anybody but maybe 2 people that were less than 30, 35 years old.
Yeah. So we need to get these younger people in now.
Some of the guys we have are in the upper 50s, early 60s.
I've got a guy driving a truck that's pushing 80 years old right now.
We had a guy out there who's probably late 40s, or right there at 50, dragging a hose, fighting, attack it.
Yeah. It's then the heart again, you're putting your body under so much stress. And I'd like to, we've been talking about, and I know we do have a couple minutes. We've been talking about doing the American Firehouse tour again. And this immediately goes on my radar. I'd love to see if we can't do some kind of recruitment event for you guys. Because this to me goes well beyond crisis mode. Like this, I don't even know if there's a word for after crisis mode, but what you guys are in is there. So let's talk. Let's keep this dialogue open, Brian. I'm very glad that you took some time out today to give to us, and I appreciate it. So thank you. We'll get in touch. So for everybody watching, please, I'm going to put some links out so you guys can go check out the situation, keep up with Brian, and we're going to see if we can't do something on our end for you. Not saying we can. We don't have hero complexes either, but if there's anything that we can do to get you guys a few more members, trust me, we're going to be working on it.
Even if it's not our town, even our next town over, Pine Grove, Jacksonburg, that structure fire we had was in Jacksonburg, and Jacksonburg didn't even respond. They didn't have nobody to respond.
Yeah, we need to fix that. Because your guys' situation doesn't even get solved with a career situation, it sounds like. It's this or bust, and bust isn't an option. So, well, guys, thank you so much for listening to this very enlightening conversation on the heart of the volunteer. We're definitely going to be talking to Brian again, maybe even a couple times throughout the year. So thanks again, Brian, and we'll see all you guys next time.
I don't think you can just hear a conversation like that and just move on. At least I can't. Because long after this episode ends, Brian is still there. That town is still there. That department still has 3 members. And the next time the tones drop, there's a real chance that one person is going to get on that truck and go by himself. That should bother us and rattle us, not just as firefighters, as communities, as neighbors, as people who expect someone to come when we call for help. Because that's really what this conversation is about. It's not just about staffing. It's not just about recruitment. It's not just about whether a department has enough names on the roster, really. It's about the promise that we've all gotten used to. The promise that when something goes wrong, someone will come. We don't think about the promise very often because most of us never have to. We call 911, and somewhere in the back of our minds, we believe the system is already in motion. The truck is coming. The crew is coming. Help is coming. But what Brian's story reminds us is that help is not just automatic. Help has names. Help has jobs. Help has families. Help has limits. And sometimes help is one person doing everything he can with what little he has left around him. I think we can all agree that that's not sustainable. And I don't say that to criticize the people still there. I say it because we need to be honest enough to recognize what we are asking of them. We are asking 3 people to carry the weight of an entire community. We are asking them to answer at 2 a.m. We are asking them to leave work when they can. We are asking them to train, respond, manage equipment, cover calls, and somehow keep believing that more people will come. And then we wonder why departments are tired. We wonder why chiefs burn out. We wonder why the people left standing are scared about what comes next. Brian even said something in this conversation that should stay with every one of us. His fear is that within 2 years, his department may not exist anymore. And if that happens, his community may be looking at 35 to 45-minute response times for emergencies that shouldn't wait 35 to 45 minutes. Think about it. Fire doesn't wait. A heart attack doesn't wait. Being trapped in a car doesn't wait. A family trapped inside their house doesn't wait. So the question can't just be, what is the fire department going to do? I guess the question has to be, what is the community going to do? Because this problem has never belonged to firefighters alone. The firehouse belongs to the community. The responsibility belongs to the community. And the future of departments like Brian's, they won't be saved by slogans. It's going to be saved by people. People who decide they can give a little more time. People who decide they can learn. People who decide they can help, and people who decide that waiting for someone else to step up isn't good enough anymore. Maybe you're listening to this thinking, I just don't know enough. And that's fine. They'll teach you. Maybe you're thinking, I'm too busy. Good chance that's true, but everybody's busy. Maybe you're thinking, I'm not the type of person who does this. But you know what? Maybe you're exactly the type of person that your community is waiting for. Because the question is never who's already qualified. The question is always who's willing. And in places like Reeder, West Virginia, that question isn't just theatrical anymore. It's urgent. This is real shit. And it's sitting right there in the space between the next 911 call and whoever is left to answer it. Thankfully, Brian is still answering, along with his chief and deputy chief. But he shouldn't have to answer alone. So I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank Brian. As always, this is the heart of the volunteer. See you next time.